and welcome to Thought for the Day for this Thursday, the 13th of July. Our reading this morning is from Paul's second letter to the Corinthians, chapter 3. In this letter, Paul is responding to attacks on his character and authority, for there were those who were questioning his motives. Compared to 1 Corinthians, this is an intensely personal letter and speaks of Paul's love for the church in Corinth. Chapter 3 is a defence of Paul's ministry, and I am reading from the New International Version. Are we beginning to commend ourselves again? Or do we need, like some people, letters of recommendation to you or from you? You yourselves are our letter, written on our hearts, known and read by everyone. You show that you are a letter from Christ, the result of our ministry, written not with ink, but with the Spirit of the living God, not on tablets of stone, but on tablets of human hearts. Such confidence we have through Christ before God. Not that we are competent in ourselves to claim anything for ourselves, but our competence comes from God. He has made us competent as ministers of a new covenant, not of the letter, but of the Spirit. For the letter kills, but the Spirit gives life. Now if the ministry that brought death, which was engraved in letters on stone, came with glory, so that the Israelites could not look steadily at the face of Moses because of its glory, transitory though it was, will not the ministry of the Spirit be even more glorious? If the ministry that brought condemnation was glorious, how much more glorious is the ministry that brings righteousness? For what was glorious has no glory now in comparison with the surpassing glory. And if what was transitory came with glory, how much greater is the glory of that which lasts? Therefore, since we have such a hope, we are very bold. We are not like Moses, who would put a veil over his face to prevent the Israelites from seeing the end of what was passing away. But their minds were made dull. For to this day, the same veil remains when the old covenant is read. It has not been removed, because only in Christ is it taken away. Even to this day, when Moses is read, a veil covers their hearts. But whenever anyone turns to the Lord, the veil is taken away. Now the Lord is the Spirit, and where the Spirit of the Lord is, there is freedom. And we all, who with unveiled faces contemplate the Lord's glory, are being transformed into his image, with ever-increasing glory, which comes from the Lord, who is the Spirit. There's a lot to unpick in this passage, but I would like to concentrate just on the first 6 verses. In Paul's time, it was common for a person to take letters of recommendation if they were travelling or going to an unknown community. In Romans chapter 16, verses 1 and 2, Paul commends Phoebe to the church in Rome, asking them to give her any help she may need, as she has been a benefactor to many in her local church. Likewise, in 1 Corinthians chapter 16, verses 10 to 11, Paul commends Timothy to them. It is possible that both carried the respective letters from Paul to these churches. Here, Paul is saying that he needs no such recommendation, but that there are false teachers who have been relying on forged letters of recommendation as evidence of their authority, possibly emissaries of the Sanhedrin, seeking to undo Paul's work, given the subsequent references to Moses and tablets of stone in this chapter. He goes on to say that the believers in Corinth were a letter of Christ, written not in ink, but on human hearts, This has echoes from Plato, who had said that a good teacher does not write his message in ink that will fade. He writes it upon men. Paul is quick to give God credit for all his, that is Paul's, accomplishments, and that it is the Spirit's enabling that gave power to his ministry. So, what is the relevance of these first few verses for us today? As in Paul's day, we as Christians, and together as a church, are an open letter, an advertisement for Christianity. Dick Shepherd, who was vicar of St Martin's in the Fields in London in the early 1900s, famously said that the greatest handicap the church has is the unsatisfactory lives of professing Christians. Let not the same thing be said of us or the churches in our benefice. Have a blessed day.